In the shadow-laden chambers beneath the Great Pyramid, where the ancient priests of Anubis once performed their most sacred rituals, there exists a secret that has been hidden from humanity for over 4,000 years. This secret concerns a divine vehicle of consciousness known as the Merkaba, a word that in the ancient Egyptian tongue meant the chariot of the gods, but which held a far deeper meaning that only the highest initiates were permitted to understand. The story begins in the time when the god Anubis first walked among mortals, teaching them the mysteries of transformation and the navigation of consciousness between worlds. In those days, the boundary between the physical realm and the spiritual dimensions was far thinner than it is today, and beings of great wisdom could move freely between these realms using vehicles of pure light and sacred geometry. Anubis observed that human consciousness, while capable of great expansion, was often trapped within the dense vibrations of physical matter. The souls he guided through the afterlife realms frequently became lost or confused, unable to navigate the vast landscapes of pure consciousness that existed beyond the material world. It was then that the jackal-headed god revealed to his most trusted priests the secret of the Merkaba, a geometric structure of light that could serve as both a protective vessel and a means of transportation through the infinite dimensions of existence. The ancient texts, carved in hieroglyphs so sacred that they were hidden in chambers sealed for millennia, describe the Merkaba as two interlocking tetrahedrons, three-dimensional triangular forms that, when combined, create a perfect star. But this geometric description, while accurate, barely scratches the surface of what the Merkaba truly represents. The priests of Anubis understood that this sacred form was actually a living mandala of consciousness, a blueprint for the structure of reality itself. The first tetrahedron, pointing upward toward the heavens, represents the masculine principle of consciousness, the active creative force that projects intention and will into manifestation. The second tetrahedron, pointing downward toward the earth, embodies the feminine principle, the receptive, nurturing energy that receives and gives form to the creative impulse. When these two forces unite in perfect balance, they create a field of energy so powerful that it can literally transport consciousness beyond the limitations of space and time. Anubis taught his initiates that every human being possesses a dormant Merkaba field within their energy body, but that this divine vehicle remains inactive until it is awakened through specific practices and understanding. The process of activation, known to the ancient Egyptians as the resurrection of the light body, required years of preparation and purification before it could be safely undertaken. The god revealed that the human energy field naturally contains the geometric patterns necessary for Merkaba activation, but that these patterns become distorted and weakened through the accumulation of negative emotions, limiting beliefs, and disconnection from divine source. The priests learned that before the Merkaba could be activated, the initiate must first undergo a complete purification of their consciousness, releasing all attachments to the material world while simultaneously embracing their divine nature. This purification process began with the practice of conscious breathing, which Anubis taught was the key to unlocking the dormant geometric patterns within the human energy field. the god demonstrated how specific breathing techniques could activate the sacred geometry of the Merkaba, causing the two tetrahedrons to begin their counter-rotating motion that would eventually create a field of pure light around the practitioner. The breathing pattern revealed by Anubis was deceptively simple yet profoundly powerful. The initiate would breathe in through the nose for 7 counts, hold the breath for 7 counts, then exhale through the mouth for 7 counts. This rhythm, known as the breath of Anubis, created a specific frequency within the nervous system that began to activate the dormant DNA sequences responsible for higher consciousness abilities. As the practitioner continued this breathing pattern, they were taught to visualize the two tetrahedrons of light beginning to form around their body. The upward-pointing tetrahedron would start at the heart center and extend above the head, while the downward-pointing tetrahedron would mirror this formation below. The visualization required absolute precision, as Anubis warned that any distortion in the geometric forms could result in incomplete activation or even dangerous imbalances in the energy field. The ancient priests discovered that the Merkaba activation process was closely connected to the pineal gland, the small endocrine structure that modern science has only recently begun to understand. Anubis taught that this gland, which he called the Eye of Horus, served as the biological interface between physical consciousness and the higher dimensional realms. When properly activated through Merkaba practice, the pineal gland would begin producing increased levels of DMT and other neurochemicals that facilitate expanded states of awareness. The god also revealed that the Merkaba field, once activated, would begin to spin at specific frequencies that corresponded to different dimensional levels of reality. The slower rotations allowed for healing and purification of the physical and emotional bodies, while the faster rotations could literally transport consciousness to other dimensions, planets, or even different time periods. The most advanced practitioners, known as the Merkaba masters, could maintain their activated light body for extended periods, allowing them to serve as interdimensional ambassadors and teachers. These beings could appear simultaneously in multiple locations, communicate telepathically across vast distances, and access the Akashic records, the cosmic library that contains all knowledge and experience throughout time. Anubis warned his initiates that the power of the Merkaba was not to be taken lightly or used for selfish purposes. The god emphasized that this sacred technology was a gift from the divine realms, intended to assist in the evolution of consciousness and the healing of the planet. Those who attempted to use the Merkaba for personal gain or to harm others would find that the geometric field would become unstable and eventually collapse, often resulting in severe physical and psychological consequences. The training process developed by the priests of Anubis was comprehensive and demanding, requiring not only technical mastery of the visualization and breathing techniques, but also the cultivation of pure intention and unconditional love. The initiates spent years studying sacred geometry, learning to perceive the mathematical relationships that govern all creation, and developing the mental discipline necessary to maintain perfect focus during the activation process. The deeper mysteries of the Merkaba were revealed to only the most dedicated students, those who had proven their commitment through years of service, and demonstrated their ability to maintain perfect emotional balance under all circumstances. Anubis taught these advanced initiates that the geometric structure they had learned to visualize was merely the outer shell of a far more complex, multidimensional vehicle that existed across 17 different levels of reality simultaneously. Each level of the Merkaba corresponded to a different aspect of consciousness and served specific functions in the journey of spiritual evolution. The first 3 levels which the novice practitioners worked with dealt primarily with the purification and healing of the physical, emotional, and mental bodies. These foundational levels were essential for creating the stability necessary to access the higher dimensional aspects of the Merkaba without becoming overwhelmed or losing one's grounding in physical reality. The 4th through 7th levels of the Merkaba were associated with what Anubis called the realm of the heart, where the practitioner learned to operate from pure love and compassion, rather than from personal will or desire. In these levels, the geometric patterns became increasingly complex, incorporating additional polyhedrons and sacred forms that created resonance with the cosmic heart of creation itself. Practitioners who successfully activated these levels often reported profound experiences of unity consciousness and the ability to perceive the interconnectedness of all life. The 8th through 12th levels represented the domain of divine wisdom, where the Merkaba became a vehicle for accessing the universal mind and the Akashic records. Anubis taught that these levels required the complete dissolution of the ego self and the willingness to serve as a pure channel for cosmic intelligence. The geometric forms at these levels were so intricate and multidimensional that they could only be perceived through direct, intuitive knowing rather than through mental visualization. The highest levels of the Merkaba, from the 13th to the 17th, were known as the Throne of the Gods, and were accessible only to beings who had achieved complete mastery over all aspects of consciousness. These levels allowed for direct communication with the highest spiritual beings in the universe, and the ability to participate consciously in the ongoing creation and evolution of reality itself. The activation process for the advanced levels required not only technical mastery, but also the development of what Anubis called divine discernment, the ability to distinguish between genuine spiritual experiences and the projections of the unconscious mind. The god warned that as practitioners progress through the higher levels, they would encounter increasingly subtle forms of illusion and self-deception that could derail their progress, if not recognized and transcended. The ancient texts describe specific tests and challenges that practitioners would face at each level of Merkaba activation. These tests were not imposed by external forces, but arose naturally from the purification process itself, as deeper layers of unconscious material were brought to the surface for healing and integration. Anubis taught that these challenges were actually gifts, opportunities for the soul to demonstrate its readiness for greater responsibility and power. One of the most significant challenges faced by advanced practitioners was what the priests called the dark night of the Merkaba, a period of intense spiritual crisis that occurred when the practitioner's consciousness began to operate primarily from the higher dimensional levels while still maintaining a physical body. During this phase, the individual often experienced a profound sense of alienation from ordinary human concerns and relationships, feeling caught between worlds with no clear sense of purpose or direction. Anubis provided specific guidance for navigating this challenging phase, teaching that it was essential to maintain compassion and service to others, even while undergoing profound personal transformation. The god emphasized that the ultimate purpose of Merkaba activation was not personal transcendence, but the elevation of all consciousness, and that practitioners must never lose sight of their responsibility to assist others in their own spiritual evolution. The practical applications of Merkaba mastery were vast and varied, extending far beyond the ability to travel between dimensions. Advanced practitioners could use their activated light body to facilitate healing. In others, transmit knowledge and wisdom directly from consciousness to consciousness, and even influence physical reality through focused intention and geometric visualization. The healing applications of the Merkaba were particularly sophisticated, involving the use of specific geometric patterns to restore balance and harmony to diseased or damaged energy fields. Anubis taught that all illness and dysfunction originated from distortions in the geometric structure of the individual's energy body, and that these distortions could be corrected through the precise application of Merkaba frequencies. The god revealed that the human DNA itself was structured according to Merkaba principles, with each strand containing geometric codes that determined not only physical characteristics, but also spiritual capacities and evolutionary potential. Advanced practitioners learned to activate dormant DNA sequences through Merkaba meditation, unlocking abilities that had been suppressed for thousands of years as humanity descended into denser levels of material existence. The relationship between the Merkaba and time was another area of advanced study that Anubis explored with his most gifted students. The god taught that time itself was not linear, but geometric structured according to the same sacred mathematical principles that govern the Merkaba field. By learning to navigate these temporal geometries, practitioners could access past and future timelines, gather information from alternate realities, and even influence the probability streams that determined future manifestations. The ancient priests discovered that the Merkaba field could be used to create what they called temporal anchors, stable points in the time-space continuum that could serve as reference points for consciousness during interdimensional travel. These anchors prevented practitioners from becoming lost in the infinite possibilities of the quantum field, and ensured that they could always return to their original timeline and physical body. The group applications of Merkaba technology were equally impressive, with teams of trained practitioners able to create collective light body vehicles capable of transporting entire communities to safety during times of crisis or catastrophe. The texts speak of occasions when entire temple complexes would disappear from physical reality, their inhabitants having activated a group Merkaba that transported them to higher dimensional sanctuaries until it was safe to return. The final teachings of Anubis regarding the Merkaba concerned what the ancient texts called the Great Convergence, a prophesied time when the veils between dimensions would thin dramatically, allowing for mass activation of dormant Merkaba fields throughout humanity. The god revealed that this convergence was not a distant future event, but a cyclical occurrence that happened approximately every 13,000 years, corresponding to the precession of the equinoxes and other cosmic cycles. During these periods of convergence, the electromagnetic field of the Earth itself would shift into a higher frequency state, creating optimal conditions for Merkaba activation, even among those who had received no formal training in the ancient techniques. Anubis taught that these natural activation events were designed by cosmic intelligence to facilitate quantum leaps in human consciousness and to prepare the species for its next stage of evolutionary development. The god warned, however, that spontaneous Merkaba activation during convergence periods could be dangerous for individuals who had not prepared their consciousness through proper purification and training. Without the necessary foundation of emotional balance and spiritual discipline, the sudden expansion of awareness could result in psychological fragmentation, physical illness, or even complete disconnection from consensus reality. To prepare for these convergence events, Anubis established a network of mystery schools throughout the ancient world, each dedicated to preserving and transmitting the essential knowledge needed for safe Merkaba activation. These schools operated in secret, their teachings passed down through carefully selected lineages of initiates who had proven their dedication to serving the highest good of all beings. The curriculum of these mystery schools was comprehensive, encompassing not only the technical aspects of Merkaba activation, but also the ethical and philosophical foundations necessary for wielding such power responsibly. Students learned that the Merkaba was not merely a tool for personal transcendence, but a sacred trust that carried with it the obligation to assist in the elevation of all consciousness. The god taught that the ultimate purpose of Merkaba mastery was the creation of what he called the new Earth, a reality where the barriers between physical and spiritual existence had been dissolved, allowing for the manifestation of heaven on earth. This transformation would not occur through external intervention, but through the gradual awakening of human consciousness to its true divine nature and unlimited creative potential. The process of planetary transformation through Merkaba activation was described in the ancient texts as occurring in 3 distinct phases. The first phase involved the awakening of individual practitioners who would serve as anchors for the new frequencies, creating stable points of higher consciousness that could support others in their own activation process. These pioneers would often experience significant challenges as they learned to navigate between the old paradigm of limitation and the new reality of unlimited possibility. The second phase would see the formation of communities of activated individuals who could work together to create collective Merkaba fields capable of influencing larger areas of the planet. These communities would serve as demonstration sites for the new way of living, showing others that it was possible to exist in harmony with both spiritual and material dimensions simultaneously. The final phase would involve the critical mass activation of human consciousness, creating a planetary Merkaba field that would permanently shift the Earth into a higher dimensional state. Anubis taught that this transformation was inevitable, written into the very structure of cosmic evolution, but that the timing and manner of its occurrence would be determined by the choices and actions of humanity itself. The god revealed that the knowledge of Merkaba activation had been deliberately hidden during certain periods of history when humanity was not ready to handle such power responsibly. The rise and fall of various advanced civilizations throughout history were directly related to their mastery or misuse of this sacred technology. Atlantis, Lemuria, and other legendary civilizations had achieved great heights through proper application of Merkaba principles, but had ultimately destroyed themselves when the knowledge fell into the hands of those who sought to use it for domination and control. The current era, according to Anubis, represents humanity's final opportunity to reclaim this ancient wisdom and use it for the intended purpose of conscious evolution rather than destruction. The god emphasized that the choice between transcendence and catastrophe rests entirely with humanity itself, and that each individual who awakens to their true nature and activates their Merkaba field contributes to the positive outcome of this cosmic test. The practical implications of widespread Merkaba activation would be profound and far-reaching, affecting every aspect of human civilization. The limitations of physical travel would become obsolete as consciousness learned to navigate directly through space and time. The scarcity-based economic systems would collapse as people discovered their ability to manifest whatever they needed through focused intention and geometric visualization. Disease and aging would become things of the past, as individuals learned to maintain their physical bodies through conscious direction of the life force energy that flows through the Merkaba field. Death itself would be transformed from a feared ending into a conscious transition, with individuals able to choose when and how to release their physical form and continue their evolution in higher dimensional realms. The educational systems would be revolutionized as direct transmission of knowledge from consciousness to consciousness became possible, eliminating the need for the slow and often ineffective methods of traditional learning. Children would be born with their Merkaba fields already partially activated, possessing abilities and understanding that would seem miraculous by current standards. The relationship between humanity and the natural world would be restored to its original harmony as people remembered their role as conscious co-creators rather than exploiters of the Earth's resources. The Merkaba field would allow for direct communication with the consciousness of plants, animals, and even the planet itself, creating a new form of ecological cooperation based on mutual respect and understanding. Anubis concluded his teachings by emphasizing that the time of the Great Convergence was rapidly approaching, and that those who felt called to this path should begin their preparation immediately. The god provided specific practices and meditations that could be safely undertaken by sincere seekers, warning that the window of opportunity for gradual conscious activation was limited, and that those who waited too long might find themselves forced to undergo the transformation under less favorable circumstances. The legacy of these ancient teachings continues to resonate through the ages, calling to those souls who are ready to remember their true nature and reclaim their birthright as conscious co-creators of reality. The Merkaba awaits activation within every human being, a dormant vehicle of light that holds the key to humanity's next evolutionary leap and the transformation of Earth itself into a conscious living paradise where spirit and matter dance together in perfect harmony.